Hey guys, it's Generalkidd here. How's everyone doing today? So, for today's video, I'm showing you guys the new cut and unreleased characters for Halo 1 on MCC that really never got to see the light of day in-game until quite recently. So, as you all know by now, with the recent Halo MCC update, the Halo 1 mod tools got a lot of interesting content added to it. A lot of cut content thanks to the Digsite team. In fact, there's a little special folder separate in the mod tools that's just called Digsite that's full of all this unreleased content. So for this video, we'll be taking a look at the unreleased characters that were added to the mod tools. Now, before I go too far into this, I do want to quickly point out that these do not work in anniversary graphics, if you were wondering what they look like. They just simply don't show up at all. Alright, so with that out of the way, let's get right into it. Let's start with the first set, which is the Cyborgs. And the first one is the OOE3 variant. Cyborg is just what Master Chief was called back in Halo 1 in the game files. I guess at some point he was meant to be a robot or a cyborg, so to speak. Next up we have the OO Mac version. And these are all like early, basically prototypes of Master Chief. And there's a couple multiplayer versions here too, like this one. You can tell by the armor color that's the multiplayer version essentially, because that's like the default base color with no customizations. Next we have the O1E3 version of Master Chief here, and then next we have the 99E3. This one's interesting. It has it's carrying like a secondary weapon, which I don't think it's actually a secondary weapon, but we didn't really have secondary weapons on Spartans until Halo 3 really. So I guess at some point that was the concept, like Master Chief was supposed to carry a secondary weapon on his back. At least that's what I assume here. But last up we have the 99 Mac Cyborg. This one should be very familiar. This is probably like one of the most famous versions, because it was I think it was the first version anyone's ever seen publicly in the macro demo way back. And we even got this armor in Halo 2 Anniversary multiplayer as well on MCC, and now it's actually here in game on Halo 1. Next up we have the Slug Man. I don't know if these had a more official name to them, but in the game files, that's what these are called. And it's, I don't know what character this is supposed to be. I don't know if this is really like a prototype jackal or something like that, or some entirely like new common species that was just completely cut and never released. But either way, it's a pretty interesting character, and yeah, it was never released. It was never even included in the game files. Like in Halo 1, some cut characters like the engineer were still left over in the game files, but not the Slugman here. So next up we have the Elite. This is the 99 Macworld Elite, and these were the elites that you got to see in the Macworld demo for Halo 1 back then. And these are obviously very early versions of elites as well. You can kind of see like that all these like Covenant characters of species, they kind of went from, I don't even know how to describe them, like they're wearing kind of like different kind of suits, whereas in the final version they went from wearing these like, I guess like tech suits to more armor, and that kind of seems to be true for the other Covenant species that we've seen so far. But anyways, the last species we have here, the last character, is the Drino. And this is from the OO Mac version. And we could see that this is one of the hugest bipeds, one of the hugest characters we've ever seen in a Halo game. In fact, I think the only other character in any Halo game, the only other biped, I should say, that rivals the Drino in size might be the Mantis from Halo 4, because the Mantis, I know it's a vehicle technically, but it's also technically a biped in the tag, so you're actually driving a character in Halo 4 for the Mantis. That's kind of how it works. It is not actually a vehicle. So I would say the Mantis is probably the only other thing that rivals the size, but this is definitely bigger than the Mantis, I think. In fact, it's so big that it's the only character that you could stand on in Halo 1, because other characters in Halo 1, if you try to stand on their heads, you tend to slide off, but not the Drino. And as for killing it, even with the overpowered Halo CE Magnum, it takes a lot of shots, even headshots, to kill the Drino. And it does have quite a lot of animations to it as well, death animations and idle animations too, as you saw. And you can still launch its body with a grenade, which is kind of funny too. I bet if I turned on like the Sputnik and the Boom Skull or whatever, or the Feather Skull, it'd probably go flying as well. All the other characters here, the Cyborgs, they all have pretty standard like health. You can see some of them have different shield colors too, like blue versus like orange and stuff like that. But that's about it for them. And all the characters here can be assassinated as well. No different for those. The slug man can also be assassinated. In fact, it has orange hunter blood when you do that, which is pretty interesting. Elite can be assassinated as well. But the Drino, if you're wondering, does not seem to be assassinatable, if that's even a word. In fact, I can't even reach it from behind. It's like hitbox is so weird for melees. I have to like hit it from the top, and if I try to like hit it like an angle from the top, it does not assassinate still. It just doesn't. Yeah, I just can't seem to one hit kill it with a melee. So I suspect it's probably immune to assassinations, unless it's a very specific tiny angle or hitbox area that I have to do that I'm just not getting. But as far as I can tell, you can't assassinate a Drino. So there you guys have it. Those are all the newly added cut unreleased characters for the Halo 1 mod tools on PC for MCC. Hopefully you guys found this video to be interesting. If you did, then as always, make sure to leave a like, leave thoughts in the comments, anything else you may check out look into, any questions you have, or other experiments we may try with these, just let me know in the comments down below. But aside from that, make sure to subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you all in the next video. Bye guys!